Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Betting Show. Back once again for the new season. Me and Adam will be with you all year going through all the best odds and how to make the most out of your money on your bets. Adam, it's nearly the season, less than a week now. Are you excited?
Yeah, we're nearly there, aren't we? Finally, it's been a long off season as it always is. The college stuff is back this week, and the NFL will be back next week. So yeah, hopefully lots of winners that we will be able to find.
Yeah, definitely. Today we're going to go through some of your division winners. We're also going to go through the awards. So it's going to be the MVPs, the offensive, defensive rookies of the year, things like that. And then next week we will be back with the normal show, going through our franchise tag 5 and our touchdown scorers. We had a successful year last year. I think the first year was more successful. We still had a successful year, didn't we? Sky's gone, hasn't he?
I had a successful year. I mean, we'll go down that route. But I think we had a pretty successful year. The second year I would say, was better for me on the second year than the first year. But it wasn't too bad. Yes, we've got rid of that idiot Sky. I mean, he was just an outrage. He never turned up. So what was the point? And then when he did turn up, he just gave us losers. So yeah, we've moved on from him. We've shelved him onto some other shows because otherwise he's just going to lose all his money. So
I think we'll get him back for some guest appearances for the right at the end of the show, just to give us 100 to 1 bets.
Yeah, give us some losers. That's what we all want, isn't it?
We want to know who's going to be halftime shows at games that don't matter. That's what we want. We'll jump right into it, Adam. As always, usual screen. We know where we're going with this. Do you want to go down the list that I've got in front of me, or do you want to work off of your list? Does it really matter?
No, go for your one. That's fine with me.
Okay, so at the top we've got the AFC North. Adam, where are you going with this one? What do you like? What odds do you like, and which one do you think it is?
So I pretty much hate everything about this division when it comes to betting. It's a bit of a nightmare. There just isn't. There isn't anyone that really stands out to me. I think that actually all 4 of them have the potential to win this division. I think it will be hardest for the Steelers given their quarterback situation, but the other 3 very much, I think, have got a chance of winning this. The only thing that when we did the preview shows earlier in the month and we did the North, I went for the Ravens just purely because I think that they are the best all-round team still. The Bengals very much are relying on Joe Burrow basically not getting injured. And the Browns, although they've got an incredibly good defense offensively, there are still a few question marks when it comes to Deshaun Watson. So I think when you sort of throw all that in together, it does feel like the 5-4 on the Ravens is probably the most logical one to go for. It's not an exciting price, but I think that they are the team that have not only have got the most potential to win this division, but also to move on as well further along when it comes to the AFC. So yeah, I think 5-4 is kind of almost like you just sort of take that price and be happy that it's odds against, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether there might be a slight drop off with the Ravens this year. Obviously, losing their defensive coordinator, they lost a few people on that defense. So I don't know whether they regress slightly. I still think they're going to be really good. They've brought in Derrick Henry, so I think that's a massive upside for them on their offense. And I think there's a lot of pressure on them. Everyone thinks they're going to be good. So whether there might be a bit of hangover from the way the season ended, I don't know. Which leads me to move to the Bengals of saying, it wasn't that long ago they were in a Super Bowl. And when Joe Burrow, the team hasn't changed a lot since then. And if Joe Burrow is healthy, Jamar Chase hopefully gets his deal done and is on the field and he's playing, I think they've got a good chance of challenging. They're a team that we've seen that can beat the Chiefs. They've proven that. So they're the ones for me, I think, could be the challengers and could actually win this division, with both of them being with Ravens and Bengals both being really, really strong this year. I don't like the Browns' offense. Don't trust it.
No.
And Steelers, the same. I need to see it first. I don't think they're of the caliber roster-wise of the other two.
No, I suppose when I said that they're capable of winning, I suppose what I really meant was that they're all capable of beating each other. I think that's where there is a bit of an issue when it comes to this division, that they are all quite on their day, can be quite good. Yeah, the Bengals. I mean, there is an amount. You do feel kind of like it's an appealing price at 33-20. They do have the potential to kick on as they did before. I don't think their defense is quite as good as what it was a couple of years ago. I think that might be where they have dropped off a little bit. But yeah, I think that they do. But even though the Ravens, I don't think the Ravens have necessarily dropped off. I think it might be more that their offense is going to be a little bit different with Derrick Henry than what it was before. I think it's just going to be a slightly changed offense. And although defensively, yes, they have lost their coordinator, they are going to have to deal with that. I think having someone like John Harbaugh there kind of might help with that. And so I'm not saying that Mike McDonald didn't do anything, because obviously he did, but you do just sort of think to yourself, I think that Harbaugh will maybe be able to paper over any potential cracks there.
Yeah, I think it is hard to look past the Ravens, but I do really like the Bengals this year, especially if Burrow stays healthy. I think they'll be a massive contender. Onto the AFC West, Adam. This is surely an easy one. The odds even show that it's an easy one. Even looking at what they've got in second place with the Chargers at 7-2, I think they need more than this year to get that roster going. I think Harbaugh there will turn it around and do good things, but I don't think will quite challenge the Chiefs this year.
No, I can't see anything other than the Chiefs winning this. It's 5-13. It's kind of the sort of, put it in an accumulator if you want to do one, but like not as an individual prize. I actually quite like the Raiders to come second in this division. So I'm a little surprised that they are as far away from the Chargers as they are in the odds. That feels a little bit surprising. I think they've got a good defense, the Raiders, and I think that they've brought in some good free agency players as well. So I think with that means that they might be able to do something. I also think Minshew is more than capable of just getting enough wins in order to be able to be relevant. Not necessarily a playoff team, but just relevant in this division. So I think, to me, I find the Chargers odds, like you say, I think it's going to take a bit of time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. I think Harbaugh is going to want to get certain guys out and then sort of like bring in more of his players and sort of redo that roster and make it a bit younger still. So I think he's done well, but I think it might take a bit of time, as you said. And the Broncos aren't really in a position to be doing much, certainly not on the offense anyway. So yeah, Chiefs, I think, is a pretty obvious one here.
Yeah, I think Minshew's a good placeholder at the Raiders.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Moving from the Colts, who had a fantastic O-line, an offensive coordinator, some good weapons at wide receiver, I think and the division they were in last year with the Colts. Yeah. I think it's people are thinking, oh, well, he did so good there, he'll just do the same. But he narrowly missed out on the playoffs there. And now he's come into a division that's stacked with Harbaugh, Reed, Sean Payton, and he's got a defensive coordinator. I just don't think it's going to be the transition that everyone thinks from Colts to Raiders. But they've got some nice pieces. Yeah, we'll move on from that one. There's not loads to talk about the West because it is Chiefs all day long. We'll be shocked if it's not. The NFC East, odd order here. Adam, were you on you were on the show. You've just done this one on Thursday, so you know loads about this one. Tell us your thoughts on this one. Can the Cowboys make it to the top, or is it the Eagles again?
Well, this is the division, isn't it, that always changes. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a bit obvious that the Cowboys ain't going to win it. So that's them done, I'm afraid. No, I think the Eagles will win this reasonably comfortably. Actually, the Cowboys, it kind of feels like they've dropped off quite a bit here. It does feel like that they're just not the team that they were last year, let alone a couple of years ago. And I mean, that just when you think about like their draft, it kind of felt like they didn't really do much that kind of really made you feel like it was going to be like all in, which is kind of what they were sort of talking about. I wasn't a massive fan of Tyler Guyton. I think he can be good in time. I just don't think he's ready to go now, which is why it was a surprising move. And also there was no wide receiver. Like where was the wide receiver on that team? They basically got CeeDee Lamb. They got Jake Ferguson, obviously, at tight end, who will be a good option for them. But after that, it's it's a slightly injured Brandon Cooks most of the time, and not a lot else. So I think the Cowboys will struggle. They haven't really addressed the running game very well either, so that's not helping. So it does feel very much that it's going to be Dak and CeeDee Lamb that's going to get them over the line. I just think the Eagles have got so many more weapons, are in a much more better position. Their main weakness last year was that they could get caught over the top. Their corners really struggled. They've definitely addressed that. They've brought in Cooper DeJean and Mitchell as well. That's two really good corners that can help them in the defense. And, they just look like a solid offense again. Like they did really well last year. Why won't they do well this year? It's the same guys kind of thing. I know it's not great at 20-27, but it feels kind of like an obvious choice with the Eagles this year. And the other two are just in transitional periods at the moment, and they're just not. They're not in that position to be able to compete. The Commanders, I think there's a promise with the Commanders. I think they've done all the right things, but it's going to take time. And I think the Giants need to start doing the right things. And once they start doing that, then maybe they will be able to get somewhere.
Yeah, you say the odds aren't great for the Eagles, but I think most people would say that's a nailed on one for them. So in an accumulator, those odds are quite good.
Yeah.
I
suppose I'm saying they're not great if you're taking it as a single.
Yeah. Well, the only people taking that as a single are probably celebrities that are Eagles fans. Oh, hello. Refresh. Cheers. Thanks for that. But there we go. Back to where we were. But yeah, it is what it is. I agree with you. The only issue that I felt they had last year was their coordinators didn't really know what they were doing, and the head coach didn't know how to organize his coordinators to get the best out of the team. He's now got two very established, very talented coordinators that will get that clicking. So I think they're going to be a tough team to go against for anyone. Cowboys, I think you're right. Bit of a drop off. Commanders, I'm not sure. I need to see it first because they lost a lot of people last year trying to rebuild this team. So I'm not sure it's going to go as quick as you might think it would be as being good. And then Giants have set themselves up for the future, haven't they, really? They've got some nice young pieces across the board. So I don't think they're worried too much about this year. Your NFC North, Adam, the odds look quite open here between all of them but the Vikings, and the Vikings aren't, for the fourth place team at 9-1, don't look that too bad. Do you think this is the Lions are strengthened? Do you think they can go on and do it, or do you think your Packers, with how electric they looked on offense last year, have done enough on that defense to challenge for this title?
I think it's a two-horse race between the Lions and the Packers myself. I think that we have done well on the defense. I love the fact that we brought in Xavier McKinney. I think that's exactly the sort of player that you want to be bringing in an area that was of desperate need as well. Also went and brought in Javon Bullard in the draft, so that was another one that was quite useful in that sort of safety section. We do look good on the defense now. You have to expect under the new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley that things will improve compared to what they were last year. There is a quote, I think, of him coming out and saying that, you know, it's basically let it rip is kind of the idea. So I think that it's going to be a very aggressive defense as well. And obviously the offense did incredibly well last year, and you would hope that that would be able to continue. And you know, because they are all so young, you would expect them to develop as well and get better. So I think that there is a lot of promise for the Packers. But the one thing that I would say when it comes to it is that I just think the Lions are kind of almost like that 1 year ahead of in the sort of like in the cycle. And so to me, when you look at the Lions, it's difficult to find the weaknesses now compared to what it was many, you know, it was quite easy to find the weaknesses a few years ago, but now it's difficult to find them. I think that the one area that obviously was a problem was corner, in the same way that it was for the Eagles that we spoke about. And, you know, they brought in Terrion Arnold, they brought in Ennis Rickstraw. You know, so these are two guys that are going to be able to sort of like really help them out there. Kind of means that Brian Branch can sort of play safety or nickel, and yeah, so it kind of feels like that back secondary now is not necessarily as good as it can be, because obviously they haven't, you know, a couple of them are rookies and haven't played yet, but it does kind of feel like they're in a position where good things should happen for them here. So because of that, I just think they're in a really good spot at the moment, and I think that offensively as well, I think they're in a really good spot. Obviously, you know, you get an injury to a big name like a Sam Laporta or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jahmyr Gibbs, then obviously we've got a different story to say here. But at the moment, based on everyone being fit, and it just kind of feels like the Lions are in a good place. And so at 13-10, I think they're kind of the obvious one. I know a lot of people will like the 2-1 of the Packers. I think that they will see that and see the improvements, but I just feel the Lions are just 1 year ahead, and that's the reason why I'll go for them.
Yeah, I mean, they did look fantastic on offense last year, and it was the defense that struggled. And we had a conversation not that long ago and said, which one of these two defenses do you think is going to be better this year? And we really couldn't split it going into the season. We need to see it because they both have made massive improvements. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing both these two teams' defenses play it out. I think you have, although the Lions have probably arguably the best offensive line in football at the moment, and Jahmyr Gibb and Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, you could argue that the offense of the Packers is maybe stronger across the board. You've got talent in every single spot, two tight ends, 5 wide receivers, a solid running back, an offensive genius as head coach, and you brought in Marshawn Lloyd when he's fully fit, should be popping as well. So it's going to be a really interesting one. Do you think there's the odds say that the Bears are in the running? Do you think they are, or do you think they are miles behind these other two?
I don't think they're miles behind. I just think that they're not in the running. I think that it's very difficult to back a rookie quarterback to come in and win a division from day one. You know, he will make them a better team. They will be a much better offense. And, you know, as I said before, when we were doing the previews for this, it's probably the best situation a rookie quarterback has had since Dak Prescott came in at Dallas. You know, so he's got weapons. He's got an O-line that is not fantastic, but it's sort of serviceable. It's okay at the moment. But I do think that there's going to be times when he's going to look amazing, and then there's going to be times when I think he might struggle a little bit, and you might find that the O-line isn't protecting him enough, and it might kind of fall apart. The idea of him sorry?
He's used to the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's the argument a lot of people say with USC, isn't it? That he's used to the O-lines falling apart. So, I mean, obviously that's, you know, good in a way that he can do that. I just think it's a slightly different ball game when you've got defenses of NFL teams coming at you rather than some of the college teams. But yeah, and then defensively, they looked good, didn't they? At the back end of last year, they looked pretty good at the defense.
Yeah,
I still think the secondary. I still think is kind of the weak spot of that. I think it's more the pass rush is very good, and the front seven are very good, but they do need to. They got Johnson, haven't they?
I thought they had two of the best tandem cornerbacks.
Well, they got Jalen Johnson, haven't they? There.
Yeah, who's on the other side? I thought they had two. Tyreek Stevenson. Yeah. Two studs. And they got Jaquan Brisker as well. I think their secondary is good.
Fine.
Yeah.
Well, I still don't think they'll do enough. And the Vikings, they're not in a position to do anything at the moment.
No. Got bridge quarterback in at the moment. So I don't think the expectation's probably not there to be challenging with the other two. They're looking for the future, aren't they, as well? A little bit like what we said with Giants, really. They've just got probably a bit more talent across the board. The AFC East, some people think it's wide open. Some people think it's the Bills division. They keep winning it every year, so it's theirs to lose. Adam, are you on that side of the fence, or do you think Dolphins and Jets can show their worth and challenge for this year?
Yeah, I wouldn't be backing anything in this division at all. This is a horrible, horrible division to call. The Bills, it kind of feels like they've dropped off a little bit, I would argue. They're not quite the team that they were. I think Stephon Diggs has gone. In a way, it kind of feels a little bit, I suppose them dropping off is the same as what we're saying with the Ravens dropping off. It's kind of just a different offense and a different way of playing, with the fact that I feel like it's going to be a lot more run game. That was kind of what we saw, wasn't it, at the back end of last year? I think they're still a very good team. You got Josh Allen. They're still going to be a very, very good team. And defensively, I don't think they're quite as strong as what they were. On the offense, I think, like I say, it will just be different, but I still think they'll be very good. The Jets went 7-10 last year with Zach Wilson. So as long as Aaron Rodgers doesn't explode, then you have to think that it's probably going to be a lot better. It's not going to take a lot. And to be honest, he's not going to have to do a lot either in order to turn that 7-10 into 10-7 or 11-6. So it does kind of feel like offensively, obviously, if they can keep him going, then he'll be fine, and they will be a lot better because that defense is incredibly strong. The Dolphins, they don't like cold weather, so they're going to be buggered at the end of the season. There is that problem, but yeah, I mean, again, I think the problem with the Dolphins is their defense isn't great. They didn't replace in certain areas. They lost a couple of really key pieces in Christian Wilkins and also Robert Hunt as well. They lost him. And so that kind of puts you off a little bit. I think they're going to be one of these teams that's very much like they're going to try and outscore everyone, but you can't do that in every game because it just doesn't work. And so that's going to be their problem. And I mean, do we need to talk about the Patriots?
I mean, no. I mean, their odds show you their chances. Yeah. I think it could be quite bad at the Patriots this year. A couple of decisions they've made and a couple of things I've seen, and when I watched preseason, it all looked. Well, I've never said this before about them. It all looked very amateur. It all looked very rookie. Risking their week one starting quarterback in preseason and then getting injured, putting Bailey Zappi in there for snaps when they knew they were going to go forward with May and Milton. Just some decisions. I'm like, this looks a bit amateur hour. I think it could go bad for them quite quickly, especially in a strong division where we don't know which one's going to win. We want to keep away from it and maybe in betting, but we know that the other three are strong. Like they're all contenders for the playoffs. It's not as if it's like some of the divisions we've seen in the past where it's like all of these are rubbish. One of them will win it. And like I said, Miami have got visits to Green Bay, New York, Cleveland, towards the back end of the year. So it's all going to go.
Well, New England as well. That's the other thing. They've got to go to New England at some point. I don't know when it is, but they've got to obviously play them at some point, and Buffalo at some point.
I think it's October, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it should be all right. But
it's still going to be cold.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'll be tougher. But I wouldn't want to. I mean, my head would say the Bills just purely because they've been there and done it for so many years now. And I think if you've got a quarterback like Josh Allen, then that normally gets you very, very far. But I mean, really, any of them three could potentially win it.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills. I think, like I said, it's their division to lose. Josh Allen is phenomenal. Him and Patrick Mahomes, obviously, for me, the best two by a long way. And the talent that we see from Josh Allen is very similar to what you've seen from some of the greats, where, Mahomes had Tyreek Hill, he left, and then he had a plethora of just wide receivers, and he still won championships. Brady had no one at wide receiver, and he still won championships. The defense is usually strong. They've got a defensive minded head coach, so the defense should be strong, and then Josh Allen can take care of the rest. And I think they brought in some nice pieces for him in that wide receiver area, that if he is as good as what I think he is, we'll get the best out of them. So I think it's his to lose, and they've proven every year for the last, God, what is it? How many years have they won it now in a row? They'll carry that on. They will continue it. Onto the AFC South. This one is surely one of those that's wide open. I think, the Titans, we never know. But definitely the top three on there: Houston, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis. Can you pick between them?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty open and shut case, to be honest, with this division. I would be very surprised if the Texans don't win this. I think they've improved defensively. I think they brought in a few pieces in the offseason, definitely through free agency, where they've improved a lot on the defense, and the offense is very, very strong. We saw that at the back end of last year, and they've got all the same guys and Stephon Diggs on top of it. So I think when you put the two things together, they seem like a very difficult team to get past. I think the issue with the Colts is that they're going to be the Colts.
Mm-hmm. They used to be great, mate. When I first started,
I know, but I'm talking about in the last 5 to 7 years, it's kind of felt like the same story all the time. Well, pretty much since Andrew Luck's gone, it's felt like the same story. Defensively, I think they will be solid because they always are. The offense, I just don't think it's got enough to it. We'll see how Adonai Mitchell does there, but I just don't think they've quite got enough on that offense. And you are incredibly reliant on Anthony Richardson, who hasn't played many games.
And he's to stay healthy as well.
Yeah, that's the issue. He hasn't played many games in his career, and obviously he's not injury prone, but it's just the type of quarterback that he is going to be more prone to getting injured. So I think that's a concern. The Titans, I think the 9-1 of the Titans is a much better bet than the 9-1 of the Vikings. I have to say, I think they've got more chance of winning it than what the Vikings do with the NFC North. Having said that, they are in a sort of redevelopment stage a little bit. They've got some nice weapons. They've got Calvin Ridley, should be good for them. DeAndre Hopkins is coming back from the injury, so he should be okay. They've got a couple of nice running backs there in Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, and Will Levis has shown that he is capable. He's not, I don't think he's going to be amazing, but I think he will be capable at quarterback. So I think they've got some bits there. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they can be competitive at least. And then the Jags are just, I don't know with the Jags. I feel like they should be better than what they are. I feel like they missed their window. They had an opportunity, and then CJ Stroud turned up, and then that was kind of the end of the opportunity. Trevor Lawrence just hasn't been the guy that we kind of thought he was going to be. And, you know, obviously, like, a lot of the time you come out and go, yeah, well, you know, first year, rookie season, and he had all them problems with Urban Meyer, so you kind of let him off that year. So you sort of think, okay, well, first year with Doug Peterson, but then second year with Doug Peterson, nothing really moved on, and it just kind of felt like it wasn't really working. The pieces they've got, I really like Brian Thomas. I think he'll be really good for them. But Christian Kirk, you know, this is so Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, Travis Etienne. He's a good running back. He's not great. You know, this is the thing. It feels like a lot of it is all kind of like he's good, and you know, this player they've got is good, but there's not many great players on that team, and it just kind of feels like the Texans at the moment have got a few great players on their team, and that's enough to put me off. And given the fact that the Texans are odds against as well, it's a nice price for them, I think.
Yeah, I think the Texans should comfortably, and I think the Colts are their challenge. I don't think it's the Jags. I'm quite surprised that the Jags are the second favorites in this, but yeah, it's the Texans for me. They were very exciting to watch last year, and as you've said, they've only added pieces to it rather than lost pieces. And I think they've got a good thing going with D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud. I think it's going to be good for years. On to the NFC South. It's the Falcons that a lot of people are talking about doing well this year, but we thought that many a year in the past, and that hasn't come through. The Buccaneers were last year's champions of this, and then the Saints and the Panthers.
Yeah, so the thing that you've got to remember with this division is last year there wasn't much between the top three. There was very, very little between them, and the Buccaneers have pretty much stayed the same. They haven't really changed that much, other than the fact that they've lost Dave Canales, which is a bit of a concern. The Saints have pretty much stayed the same, and they've still got Dennis Allen, which is depressing for all Saints fans, I would imagine. But the Falcons have changed quite a lot, because obviously they've brought in a different coaching staff. You know, a lot of it has believe it's come from the Rams, isn't it? It's come from the McVay tree under Raheem Morris, and they've brought in a new quarterback with Kirk Cousins, which has always been the biggest issue for them, hasn't it? We've always kind of felt like if they actually had a quarterback that could throw the ball to Drake London and Kyle Pitts, then they might actually be quite a good team. They've done that. One area that was a massive issue, said all the way through the draft show that we did, was edge rusher. They didn't do anything during the draft, but they've gone out and got themselves Matthew Judon, which obviously is a huge improvement at edge rusher for them. They've also gone out and got Justin Simmons in the last few weeks as well in safety. I think having these guys, because they've still got the likes of Jesse Bates there as well and AJ Terrell, I think having these guys that have been around for a while on the defense will be great for them. So I really think they're the ones that have really kicked on, and the others have kind of just stood still a little bit. Panthers, I also think, have kicked on. I think they will be much, much better than what they were last year, but they are in a big transition period with Dave Canales as their new head coach. And so the 11-1 is not appealing at all. But yeah, 10-13 on the Falcons, I think, is probably one of the safer ones, I would say.
Yeah, they're a team that in the off, usually teams wait till they've played a few games and then say, yeah, we're all in, and then go out and get those big names and just bring them in. They've done it before the season starts. They must be confident in what they've got, that they're going all in with bringing in Judon, Simmons, and anybody else who becomes free on in that sort of area as well at the moment. I think you're right with the Buccaneers. They're they have brought in some youth in there, but I think it's going to be more.
It doesn't feel like it's anything important, though.
No. And then, unfortunately, I think the Saints might have a half decent year. I don't think they're going to be horrendous, and I don't think they're going to be great, which means I think Dennis Allen might keep his job again for another year.
But do you not think they always have a half decent year? They're just stuck in this cycle, aren't they, of doing the same thing over and over again?
Because the head coach is not great.
Yeah.
Odd decision. They could have kicked on, and maybe last year they could have won this if they'd have just made better decisions and been run better as an organisation. With this sticking in this limbo with Dennis Allen, they're not gonna push forward, are they? So, and I think you're right with the Panthers. I think they've made some nice moves, and I think we see better from Bryce Young. I think in his second year, I think he'll progress, and they've got him some better talent at wide receiver as well to help him. So
yeah,
it should be better. And then the final division, the NFC West, with the very exciting. I think this is an exciting division. They got some really exciting teams in there. 49ers, people think might go back to the Super Bowl again. I'm hot on the Rams, big hot on the Rams this year. I think they're going to be good. Seahawks, the roster looks decent in my eyes. It doesn't look horrendous. And then the Cardinals, which have added some nice pieces in the draft and other areas. So what do you think about the NFC West?
Yeah, this is a really tough division, despite the fact that the 49ers are so short, because the other teams in it, as you say, the Rams are kind of one of these teams where they've got. The thing about the Rams is that they are. I actually think they've done quite well in the off season, given the fact that they lost Aaron Donald. You know, the fact that he went, and yet they still brought in quite a lot of good pieces, and that I almost kind of had them the same as what they were last year because of that, and that's quite a compliment considering Aaron Donald has gone. So I think they're probably a slightly more or better all-round team than what they were last year compared to what they were last year. So yeah, I think that the Rams will be good. The 49ers, they've got a tough schedule, but they are a very good team, and the fact that Brandon Ayuk is staying as well, it now means that they've still got CMC and Debo and Kittle and Ayuk. It feels like Purdy will do enough in order to be able to get them over the line. They have lost some players on the defense. I think losing Javon Kinlaw, I think, will be a big issue for them. But I just think they're one of these teams that they know how to win. They know how to get over the line. And I think that is going to be enough for them in order to win this division. But again, it's a very short price on one where you're just a little bit like, yeah, I think they'll just about squeak it. The Seahawks, I mean, they've got some nice pieces. I think the defense will be better under Mike McDonald.
Yeah,
I think it couldn't be much worse. So I think that will be an improvement, and that will probably help Geno Smith out and the wide receivers out a little bit, because it means that they won't have to put up so many points. The Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are going to be one of the most exciting teams to watch this year. I really do. They've got some really exciting pieces on the offense. I think we saw last year with Trey McBride how good he was. Marvin Harrison, I think, will be great for them. They've got a couple of decent running backs in James Conner and Trey Benson. So yeah, and Kyler Murray fit as well. So I think that their offense will be great. I think the defense is still a long way off. And I think because of that, that's why they'll be an exciting team to watch. I think they'll be quite high scoring. I'm going to go 49ers, but it doesn't really excite me that much.
Yeah, again, it's like I was saying with the Bills and their division is theirs to lose. I think this is the 49ers division's to lose. I think it's still their division. I'm so hot on the Rams again this year. Everyone talks again, oh, well, they lost Aaron Donald. And people are forgetting how good Kobe Turner was last year, about the records that he put up last year, you know. And then they went out and got Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk as well. I think that pass rush along with Byron Young as well, I think it's going to be dominant. And Sean McVay, you can never write him off. I think he's such an extreme talent. It's going to come down, for me, it's going to come down to the games they play against each other for who wins this. Because I think they get wins against other teams when they go out and play them.
Yeah, the other thing, and this is a kind of a major issue as well that I always think of when it comes to the Rams. That is incredibly concerning as to probably why you wouldn't want to put your money there. You are basically backing Matthew Stafford to stay fit. That is a concern.
I like their O-line. It's good.
I feel like there's more chance of Brock Purdy staying fit than there is of Matthew Stafford staying fit. That's the only issue with Stafford. I feel like he is kind of like he's on a bit of a tightrope, and he could just.
We could probably say as well, if Purdy did get injured, it'd just be next one up.
yeah. Well, yeah, there is a little bit of that.
There's none of that. There's none of that at the Rams. If Stafford goes down, it's Stetson Bennett. So
yeah, that's true. So yeah, it's that's kind of the concern for that.
Yeah. Just before we move on, you had an accumulator, didn't you, Adam? Have you got it down? Did you want to talk about that? I thought the odds on it were fantastic. Did you just want to let people know what it was?
Yeah. So there's two accumulators that are there. There's the one that I think has got a very good chance of happening, which is the Chiefs, the Texans, the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Falcons, which comes out at 11.9 to 1. So I think that is likely to happen, and that's kind of like the safe one. If you want to go a bit mental and go for all 8, because that would be a bit mental getting all 8 to come in. Ravens, Chiefs, Bills, Texans in the AFC, and then Lions, 49ers, Eagles, and Falcons in the NFC, 179 to 1.
I mean, it doesn't sound crazy.
It sounds a little bit crazy, but
We'll move on to our awards if I can find them. Let's just go back. Regular season awards. There we go. I'm just going to go down the list, Adam. Hopefully, MVP is the last one on it. It might not be. But first up is an exciting one: Offensive Rookie of the Year. Where are you staking your money? Is it all over Caleb Williams and they're short odds at 3 to 1 to win the division, or is there another name you like in here better?
So it feels like Caleb Williams is the obvious one, but I've tried to sort of come away from the obvious ones in these a little bit more. It normally does go to a quarterback, doesn't it? These awards. So the only other one that really kind of I felt was worthy was Jaden Daniels at 5 to 1. I think the Commanders. I'm not saying that they're going to be amazing. I definitely don't think they're going to be able to compete to win that division, but I think that they will be able to do reasonably well. I think that his rushing ability, although Caleb also has the rushing ability as well, I think it might show out a few highlight plays that people might like. The biggest problem for him is going to be whether he stays fit. I think that's going to be the issue for Jaden Daniels. The only other one that I kind of like the look of was Marvin Harrison at 6 to 1. And the only reason that I say that is because I'm not saying he's going to do what Puka did last year, but I feel like he could have the potential to do what Puka did last year. He is the number one guy there. Yes, they've got Trey McBride, but the fact of the matter is that I feel like very quickly Harrison will probably take first read in a lot of plays. So I think that he certainly does have the potential to win it. But yeah, I mean, it would be remiss not to come out and say that Caleb Williams is a very good chance of winning this.
Don't Ohio State players keep winning this consecutively? Haven't we seen a good string of Ohio State players win it? Is it CJ Stroud, Garrett Wilson? Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, why not continue the run? I mean, it would make sense. I do like him at 6 to 1. I think he's a decent price. So there isn't anyone further down though. I think it's most likely going to go to a quarterback, and if it's not going to go to a quarterback, it'll go to Marvin Harrison, I reckon.
I mean, Malik Neighbors could have a fantastic year. You never know. He's got the talent. I got a bet.
I don't think anyone is questioning his talent.
I got a bet on this a few weeks ago, just because as soon as the preseason started and he looked fantastic, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to see what odds he is. I'm going to have a little bit on him. I got him at 14-1, and I had Bonix at 14-1, just because he looked more. I know it comes from the experience that he had of being of how many games he played at college, but he just looked ready and he looked good. And I just thought, you know what? He just needs to have a good year and he'll be in the mix. I think if he doesn't, the Broncos don't need to win all their games and qualify for the playoffs for Knicks to be in for a shout with this one, I don't think.
I just don't think the offense is going to be very good. I think he'll be okay. I mean, we came out and said all the time, didn't we? He was the QB ready guy in the draft for the NFL. I'm not saying that he's not going to be capable of being able to throw the ball to the players. I just don't think their offense is going to be particularly great, and I think it's going to be tough considering some of the teams that they're up against this year. Like you say, they've got to play the Chiefs twice, they've got to play the Chargers twice against Harbaugh. It's going to be tough, and I'm just not sure that he's going to be able to really sort of like push past the likes of Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. Just like I said, I mean, it just feels like the way the NFL is now as well. It's like he's not going to have any highlight plays, is he? He's just going to be a pocket passer who throws the ball to wherever it needs to go. Whereas for these guys, are going to, be a lot more sort of highlight reel. So, yeah.
Do Bet365 know something we don't? Because Lewis Rees-Zammit is 50-1.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to really bring that up for fear of us upsetting anyone, but I mean, for some reason they've probably put him in because they've gone, this is a UK betting website, and there's people out there that do silly things, so I'm guessing that's what he's there for.
What's next on the list? Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think this is going to be a tight competition. I think there's a number of people that could win this. Adam, where's your money at?
Yeah, so Dallas Turner being the favourite, we came out and said this, didn't we, about Dallas Turner? I don't know with the Vikings. I just don't see it this year. I think it's a bit of a. I'm surprised. It kind of makes me feel like no one's backed anything in this market much, because the fact that he's still favourite. I love Liati Latu. I think he's the best edge rusher there. I think he's on a Colts team that is going to be able to do quite a lot defensively, and so at 5-1, I do like Liati Latu. After that, I kind of went to the corners. So I went to Terrion Arnold and to Quinion Mitchell because I think that they're going to be on teams that are going to do very well, and they're both of them teams. Their weakness was corner, so I do sort of think to myself that they feel like good prices at 10 and 12-1 respectively, to make quite a big difference on their teams, which is why I quite like the look at them too. I would have thought you would be looking at Jared Verse, I'm guessing, which again, given the fact they're going to be on the Rams, edge rusher, like you said, a team that's going to do very well as well.
Well, he's a guy that we said he's an out and out edge rusher.
Yeah,
Matthew is a technical gifted freak. Dallas Turner is a hybrid, but versus that traditional edge rusher. So I just think there's a possibility, especially at 10-1 as well on the Rams, who I've just said I think are going to be good.
Yeah. So I mean, I do like the 10-1 on him. I do like the 10-1 on Arnold and the 12-1 on Mitchell. The price of Latu is just a bit short. That's the only reason that I like him, but I just think it puts me off a little bit. I don't really see anything below that.
I mean, they could. It's one of those positions where you don't need to be one of the first guys off the board in the draft to fit in with your team and play well. I think that there is a chance, but you're just gambling. I know that's what this is, but of someone who might do well. I couldn't give you any definitive, like, yes, your money needs to be on this guy for this reason. But I think there is guys within this region that you could have a dabble on, and they could be in with a shout.
Do you not also think that edge rusher is more likely to win it than corner?
Yeah, I think edge rushers, it's easy to look good as an edge rusher because you're beating players, you're getting pressures, you're getting sacks. You could lock down as a corner, but not get the interceptions, and people overlook you. And I think that's why it's very difficult. You need those interception numbers to be there as well, which is difficult. Like I said, you could have a phenomenal season and only have 2 interceptions, but if you're batting the ball down and closing your bloke down for the whole game, people don't really see you. You're not on the screen loads because the action's somewhere else. So I think it is very, very difficult as a corner. You have to have a special season, whereas edge rushers just need to play hard and they'll be on the screen all the time showing that. So I think it is easier for an edge rusher to win it.
Yeah.
We move on to Offensive Player of the Year. I think you quite like the odds on the favorite as well. I think you've.
Yeah, I mean, I do like 7. I mean, 7 to 1 on Tyreek is quite a big price for him, isn't it? I mean, the reason I like Tyreek at 7 to 1 is because I feel like if anyone is likely to break records, then it's going to be him. And the way that the Miami offense sets up is it's kind of designed for everything that he wants to do. So at 7 to 1, I do think that he is a very good price. I've got a couple of others. I like Garrett Wilson at 25 to 1. I think that's a really good price because I feel like the Jets are a team that could turn it round if Aaron Rodgers stays fit. Wilson is pretty much the main, not just the main target, but almost the only target as well. I mean, I know Mike Williams is there, but that's kind of a little bit like, is he going to be able to stay fit? What else is there? Tyler Conklin, Alan Lazard,
With the amount of targets
that
you think he might get, do you think there's a chance he could beat Michael Thomas's reception record?
Yeah, so a lot of people have been talking about this. I mean, I think that there is quite a strong chance that he could if Rodgers stays fit throughout the whole season, because it does feel like, who else is he going to throw it to? And that kind of that sort of thing, even if he doesn't break it, but he gets very close to it, the amount of yards that he's going to pick up from that kind of, it's them sort of things that make you think, oh, okay, so that might be why he would be a good shout. So at 25 to 1, I do think he's a very good shout. And then one more that I've got at a much bigger price at 60 to 1, Cooper Kupp on the Rams. Now, Cooper Kupp, I still think that the Rams offense pretty much goes through Cooper Kupp first. I think Puka will be great this year, but I think Cooper Kupp will still be a very good wide receiver. I'm not saying he's going to get back to what he was, but at 60 to 1 on a Rams offense, that if you do believe that Stafford is going to be able to stay fit and you think they're going to do well, and that you think they're going to do as well as what you think they're going to do, then Cooper Kupp at 60 to 1 is not a bad shout at a very, very big price.
Yeah, I would worry that they might Travis Kelce him a bit, as in when they don't need him on the field, he won't be on the field until the playoffs. That Jordan Whittington looked really, really good in preseason. Tutu Atwell started the season off last year like a bullet. So I think that you might have that issue where, maybe they start with a couple more of their tight ends on there. They brought over 2, didn't they? Allen and Parkinson to go with Higbee when he gets back. So
yeah,
there's that area that they might not put him in for as many snaps, but equally, I'm not taking away from the fact that he is extremely talented. How many touchdowns do you think King Henry would have to get on a team that's probably going to use him a lot for him to be in with a shout?
To be honest, I mean, unless you're Christian McCaffrey, because he's different because of all the sort of the pass in the passing game, I don't think running backs get it. Running backs like Henry just don't get it because he's not going to be involved in the passing game enough. I think that the reason McCaffrey does get it is because of how much he's involved in the passing game as well as the rushing game. So I mean, I think you're going to be looking at records needing to be broken, I think.
Yeah, I put my money, obviously I had all these bets before the odds got closer to the season started. I put my money on a guy because I think, again, I think this team could be really, really good. I spoke about close to the start. I think Jamar Chase at 11-1 is really, really good odds. I know he hasn't got a deal. I know he's not been practicing. I know people are saying he might not play week 1. I can't see that happening. Can you see that happening? What do you reckon?
No, I'd be surprised if he doesn't play. He might not have a deal, but I'd be surprised if he didn't play. He's been around at practice, hasn't he? So
yeah. So Joe Burrow just say to him, "Look, mate, it's being you. Yeah. Don't worry about it." So I think he's got a really good shot at being the best wide receiver 1 this year out of all the guys on here. So that could give him the shot to win this.
Yeah. I think that he's not a bad price at 11-1. He's slightly bigger than you sort. I'd much rather be on him than Jefferson at 10. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. On to defensive player of the year. Now, usually this is just the TJ Watt and Myles Garrett award. It's usually just those two fighting it out, with Crosby and Parsons being thrown about as well. Who do you like in this one? Do you think that it's just going to be TJ Watt and Myles Garrett again, or do you think someone else can steal it away from him?
So I quite like Aiden Hutchinson at 10-1. I think he's the bigger price, but he's still, he's an edge rusher that's very, very good, and I think that he is a good price.
I think he was overlooked last year as well. I think he was massively overlooked the stats that he had.
Yeah, I think he was a bit overlooked against these guys. I think that I mean, like you say, it does kind of feel very much that it is TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. We might throw in a couple of other edge rushers as well, but they're the main two. It probably will go down that route again, but I like Aiden Hutchinson at 10-1. And then the other one that I quite like the look of was Will Anderson at 30-1. I just think that they've improved a lot. They've got Danielle Hunter there now, haven't they? He's gone to the Texans as well. So I quite like the fact that by having them both, it kind of almost opens it up a bit more for Anderson and Hunter as well. But I'd rather go with Anderson being the sort of slightly younger guy. And at 30-1, I think that's a really good price for him. There wasn't really anyone else. The reason I went for them two guys is that they're both going to be on teams that are going to do pretty well. I think defensively is considered that not their weakness, but they're meant to be, both of them are better on offense than they are defense. So I think that if they can do this and show that they have improved their defenses as well as putting up big numbers at edge rusher, then yeah, they're the two that I kind of quite like the look of.
Yeah, I'm not looking outside that top 6 really. I don't think. I probably wouldn't have Parsons as my favourite. No. I'm not sure how he's the favourite over Watt and Garrett, but Max Crosby, Nick Bosa, and Hutchinson, I can't look past that lot at the top there. I think it'd be very tough for the others to put up the numbers that those guys consistently put up every single year.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and that's obviously, like, you can see, can't you, in the odds that there's a big, drop off. I mean, Hutchinson's 10-1, the next one's 25. So
hey, we thought that Jared Verse and Dallas Turner might have good rookie years. 200-1, both of them. Comeback player of the year. Now they've changed the rules to this slightly now, haven't they? You have to have been injured, don't you, to be eligible to win this. You can't just be
can't just be rubbish.
You can't have just been rubbish for your whole career and then have a good year. That's no longer a thing. So it's kind of nailed on for Aaron Rodgers to win this. I think Kirk Cousins as well. Outside of that, I don't know who you're really looking at that's had the most serious injury that can come back from it.
No, I agree. I pretty much had Rodgers down for this. It's 8-5. It's not fantastic, but I think it's I think although the Falcons are going to be good this year, I think the Jets maybe have more chance of getting further. And so for that, I think that the Jets will. Rodgers probably more likely to go there. Yeah. Anyone else in this? I mean, yeah, there isn't really anyone else. I kind of feel. I mean, I was sort of thinking maybe Matt Judon at 80-1. Obviously now at the Falcons, if he puts up big numbers at edge, then maybe. But it's not a massive sort of. I think it's more likely to go to a quarterback when you see I'll say the three quarterbacks that are up there. So yeah, I think Rodgers is probably a pretty nailed on.
Yeah, we'd need Mark Andrews to kind of put up Travis Kelce numbers, which I think he can do, but I think Derrick Henry might take a lot of away from him. But yeah, I think it's hard to look at. So I think even if Joe Burrow has a fantastic year, I just don't think he'll be in the conversation. I don't think his injury kind of puts him out long enough for it to be comeback. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it kind of felt like I got why he was there, and I think that because if he was to be able to get them a long way and win that division, then maybe you could argue he would be deserved of it. But I think you're probably right that it's not quite as serious, is it, of an injury?
And
so
I think people expect the Bengals to be good and qualify.
Yeah,
I think taking the Falcons to the playoffs and winning a wild card game is more of an achievement for a comeback. I think Rodgers, taking the Jets that have been awful for God knows how many years to top the division is more of a comeback than Burrow just coming out and being fantastic that we always knew he was. I just think there's more in it with that.
Yeah.
Last of all, Coach of the Year. And there's some really good odds in here. I really like the Coach of the Year bet. I usually have someone at the start and then someone in the middle of the season because you can get great odds all through the year in this. Adam, where's your money at for Coach of the Year?
I hate this market. I really hate this. I never know where to go. I never quite get it. Like it feels like it's. My instinct is always to go for teams that have done well, but that doesn't normally mean that you win it because they expect you to do well. So it's almost like you lose out because of that. I wrote down Raheem Morris at 10-1. I think if the Falcons turn it around, win the division, like you say, win a playoff game, 10-1, I think is a good one there for Raheem Morris. Aside from that, I didn't really have much of an opinion on anything else.
Well, you wrote him down at 10-1. I got him at 12-1. I've actually had money on him at 12-1. Like I said, I think they just need to win. Coach of the Year doesn't necessarily go to the best.
It doesn't go to the best team, does it? That's where I get lost with it a little bit. It's like
because he took the Giants from being crap to being
wild
card. You don't have to be win everything. Usually, if you're the head coach of a team that is expected to get to the playoffs, when it gets to talking about it, even if you only lose 2 or 3 games, you're not even in the conversation. You have to be someone that's overcome something, a little bit like comeback coach or something, if you like. I think there's a possibility that Matt LaFleur could be in the conversation. I think, last year, it was only towards the end they looked spectacular. If he does it for a whole year, I think he deserves to be put in that caliber. I think Matt Eberflus as well, who a lot of people had him last year to win it, and then look at what happened. I think the Bears don't have to do a lot for him to be in the conversation for that. I think the likes of D'Amico Ryans, I think we expect him to top the division. You think he's going to win it easy, so I can't see him being in the conversation maybe towards the end. We didn't see it with Dan Campbell last year, did we? He kind of was pushed to the side for someone else that had a struggling season. It was Kevin Stefanski, wasn't it, that won it last year? So
but that's what I mean. You see, that one just kind of felt a little bit like, really?
That's what I mean. You bet this at the start, you have another bet in the middle, and you can get fantastic odds on it.
Yeah.
So you just
If you want someone at a bigger price, and this is where I kind of feel like I get it wrong all the time. So I mean, you tell me, kind of thing. The Bengals obviously really struggled last year. They were bottom of the division, weren't they? So if they come out and win the division, which we're kind of like saying they've got a chance of doing, does Zach Taylor suddenly become Coach of the Year candidate, or does he not? Because we all just come out and go, it's because of Joe Burrow being fit, because that was basically why LaFleur didn't win for the last few years. When Aaron Rodgers, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have anything to do with LaFleur. It was all because Rodgers got them there. So is that basically the angle it's going to? And that's why it's very difficult, and that's where I struggle with this market, because it's very narrative driven, and I just don't really know where you go with it.
You have to overcome a challenge, don't you? You have to defy the odds. If you like, and if you're expected to do well, you're not defying any odds. So that's kind of where it comes down to. I'm looking around at it, and Raheem Morris.
So then you almost need to find a coach then of a team that is not expected to win their division, but then does win their division.
Well, no, they don't even have to win it. They just need to qualify for the playoffs, mate. Just someone that Stefanski didn't. Kevin Stefanski didn't win his.
No,
Brian
that's
Daboll
true.
Didn't win his. You just need someone that people have written off that might have a chance at winning it. That's all you need.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Maybe Sean Payton. Who knows?
That would be a surprise.
Yeah. Well, there's no more awards. That's all the bets, Adam. I think there's some really good odds in there. I think there's plenty of money to be won straight off the bat there with these. I know you've got to wait till the season finishes for them all to come in, but they are exciting, and they are run all through the year, so you can have a little dabble later on in the year. We might revisit it later on as it closes towards the end of the year, but I'm really looking forward to the weekly betting show. As I said, we'll be back next week with all your odds for the upcoming games. Until then, Adam, thanks for joining me. Keep it with the franchise tag, and see you very soon.